Since the signing of the Washington Agreement, Rwanda has engaged constructively in all follow-up meetings, including the following engagements. The Joint Oversight Committee has already met twice, on the 30th of July, on the 3rd of September, and will meet again on the 1st of October. Likewise, the Joint Security Coordination Mechanism has convened twice, on the 7th and the 8th of August in Addis Ababa, and on the 17th and the 18th of September in Washington, D.C. All these meetings are directed towards the operationalization of the Washington Peace Agreement, a process to which Rwanda remains fully committed. It is important to highlight that the Washington Peace Agreement is built on principles of peace and cooperation and establishes a joint security mechanism to build trust, along with measures to guarantee humanitarian access and the dignified return of refugees. Importantly, it also addresses many of the very issues that the Security Council has long grappled with, as reflected in numerous UN Security Council resolutions. In fact, some of refugees are already returning in Rwanda, and the mechanisms are in place to receive them. This process also addresses the Resolution 2773. And although I have been here before to talk about more than 20 more resolutions that were passed before it, and which this resolution did not repeal, I'm now singling out this resolution alone because issues are interconnected. And if it is addressed in the manner it is imported in the Washington Agreement, it will address all issues in the resolutions that came before it. Resolution 2773, as imported in the Washington Agreement, contextualizes the situation and creates a mechanism for its logical implementation. So indeed, if this Council, which I believe supports the Washington Agreement, then you must also be able to support the process in which the Washington Agreement intends to implement this resolution. Similarly, the Doha process has represented a critical opportunity to address the endemic inter-Congolese challenges that have plagued the DRC for decades. The peace process provides a structured and inclusive framework for dialogue aimed at tackling the root causes of conflict, including issues of governance, exclusion, armed groups, and ethnic tensions. Rwanda sees hope in these efforts, but their success depends on full commitment and a genuine political will from all parties involved. This is a one-time chance to bring lasting peace to the DRC, and the Security Council must lend its unequivocal support. We call on all parties to honor their commitments, engage constructively, and ensure that this process translates into concrete measures that will bring peace and address the underlying drivers of conflict in the Eastern DRC. I want to reiterate that Rwanda is fully committed to this process, and we shall implement it to the letter. Having reviewed the Secretary General's report under consideration today, I wish to share Rwanda's principal concerns, notably the underreporting of critical facts, the imbalanced portrayal of armed groups, the persistent and dangerous presence of the DRC-backed FDLR, and the implications for MONUSCO's future role as the peace agreement moves into implementation. I wanted to reiterate that the Washington Agreement creates a role for MONUSCO, and this requires that MONUSCO positions itself to implement this role in a constructive way. So the advice we are giving here is in that logic. While we value reporting, the latest report on Eastern DRC reflects troubling omissions. Chief among them is the failure to sufficiently address one of the most dangerous drivers of violence, and that is hate speech and identity-based persecution. I know in paragraph 79, the report talks about hate speech, but not sufficiently. Hate speech is something very dangerous. I have seen reports of the Security Council where you quote from the social media postings. who has not seen hate speech in social media, in classrooms, in churches, where hate is taught to 10-year-olds? Who has not seen those posts? Only last week, some people were being tormented because they had a long nose. Those who know the history of the region know what it means, what a long nose means. It means death to some people. So this is not something that the report must refer to in passing. The report does not address the issue of mercenaries. There is a whole convention of the United Nations against the use of mercenaries. There are more than 2 Security Council resolutions against the use of mercenaries. There is the African Union resolution against the use of mercenaries. When did this council ever address the issue of mercenaries? There are mercenaries now. There were mercenaries before. When they were flushed out of the forests, everyone was there to see. Why is it that the Security Council treats this as a non-issue? And why is it that MONUSCO does not consider this as an issue? Why is Rwanda concerned? Because it is just across our border. Kinyarwanda-speaking Congolese communities, including Banyamulenge in South Kivu, are being singled out for expulsion and extermination. Again, who has not seen or who did not hear that there was an ultimatum given in Uvira for Tutsis to leave the country, a 10-day ultimatum? I met one senior official of the UN on the 8th day to ask why the UN had been silent all along. A commander of the army issues an ultimatum for the ethnic group to leave the country. Where was the emergency meeting to address that? Why is the UN until now silent about it? Is it normal that an ethnic group is ordered to leave the country of their origin to go to where they are perceived to believe, to belong? Because telling the truth is the only thing we can do here. And we will not tire repeating it and repeating it. Decisions will remain entirely yours. But the truth of the matters, we shall continue to tell. FDLR, that is backed by the DRC government, has an origin in the force that killed 1 million Rwandans. It is the only genocidal group that remained in its military formation in known locations with the same intentions undisturbed for the period of 31 years now. There is not any other single group I know in the history that committed the genocide, remained in that military formation, kept their arms, regrouped, got supported, remained pursuing its intent for 31 years, and today the report says they have strongholds undisturbed. That is FDLR. That is discussed here as a non-issue. Actually, let me say something that you may not have to provide an answer for, but take time to reflect about it. FDLR is within FARDC, and it is known, it is in your reports. FDLR is assisted by the DRC government. It is there, it is known, it is in your reports. MONUSCO cooperates with the DRC government, with DRC army, knowing FDLR is within DRC army. And what MONUSCO does, and this is on record, is to avoid units and battalions in which FDLR is deployed. So which standard is that? That there is a formal military cooperation between a UN force and a government force that has a genocide force within it, as long as they are not kept in the same units. Formally, that is the position of MONUSCO. What does complicity mean if that is not complicity? MONUSCO knows FDLR units are within FARDC units. What they do is just avoid those. So you can use them elsewhere as long as we don't mix. But you are in the same efforts, same military efforts, same military campaign. How did it occur in the wisdom of this council to form that partnership against M23, against Rwanda. M23 are Congolese who are being expelled from their country. Rwanda is a country that suffered the genocide at the hands of FDLR, and which has suffered 21 more attacks after 1994. If 21 attacks by a non-state group supported by a state member to the UN, if it does not constitute the reason to activate Article 51 of the Charter, which justifies that? Which threshold exists? 21 attacks in the period of 31 years. If you wanted to know how many times FDLR has attacked Rwanda, look at how many travel advisories some of your countries have issued. Because every time they attack Rwanda, you advise your citizens not to go to that part of Rwanda. So you can just correct those advisories. You will know how many times FDLR has attacked Rwanda. And we are being advised to lift our defensive measures when FDLR has strongholds that Madam Keita is telling us. It happened once to us in 94. We took advice from preachers and hid in churches, and we were slaughtered like cows. It will never happen again. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I will make good use of your time. Indeed, FDLR are Rwandans, and in Rwanda is where they should be. And this is what we're asking for DRC to do. In 1994, after they had committed the genocide, almost the equal number of perpetrators and others left Rwanda to Tanzania. But because Tanzania handled the situation in a right way, we do not have a problem now with Tanzania. You have that history. You were involved through UNHCR you saw the process, how they were disarmed, settled in camps, and later on repatriated back to Rwanda. The problem we have with the DRC is they chose the opposite direction, to arm them, reorganize them, continue to support them until now. And we have a report 31 years later that says they even have strongholds in the DRC. So that is the problem. It's not about whether they are Rwandese or they are not. These are people, Rwandans, yes, who killed our people, who want to continue killing. The intent, they still have that genocidal intent. And who should not be there, who should be neutralized. Now, the question of minerals, no, we have no problem with the DRC minerals. Rwanda has we have our own minerals. Maybe the challenge DRC has is that as much as we may not have as much, there is a visible impact on how we use what the little we have. So if democracy that my brother is telling me about produces what we see in the DRC, then that's not the type of democracy Rwanda wants.